CQ calling all radio amateurs and listeners. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain. This broadcast comes to you from amateur radio station Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. Welcome and thanks for joining us. It's Sunday the 23rd of June and here's the GB2RS news broadcast, which was prepared for you by the RSGB and is made available to all radio amateurs and listeners. You can also find this news bulletin on the RSGB website at rsgb.org, along with links to groups and organisations that may be mentioned in this broadcast. This week's news headlines: RSGB convention workshops and practical sessions, what would you like? RSGB team interviewed by ICQ podcast at the Dayton Hamvention, and a reminder to try the updated RSGB discovery scheme. We'll have more on those items a little later, but first, do you like making things? Are you interested in finding out more about the Raspberry Pi or programming an Arduino? Have you heard about the Nano VNA and Dragon operating system but don't know where to start? The RSGB wants its 2024 convention to offer practical sessions to help you try something new, develop your skills and leave inspired. If you can run a workshop or a practical session over the weekend of the 11th to the 13th of October, or if you'd like to take part in one, please email the RSGB convention team via convention@rsgb.org.uk and do so by the 3rd of July, please. The RSGB wants this prestigious annual event to meet the needs of its members and to help every radio amateur to share their love of the hobby with others. Members of the RSGB team, including RSGB President John McCulloch, GI4BWM, and RSGB General Manager Steve Thomas, M1ACB, had a successful time at the Dayton Hamvention in May. The event was a great opportunity to meet radio amateurs from around the world, and it resulted in 132 people joining the RSGB. It also provided several media opportunities with podcasters, YouTubers and local news outlets. Martin Butler, M1MRB from ICQ Podcast, was one of those who interviewed the President and the General Manager. The interview covered many topics, from using the new license conditions as part of outreach to the RSGB's role in defending the spectrum, and even to the RSGB President's amateur radio activities with both Raynet UK and SOTA. For the full interview, go to episode 432 on icqpodcast.com and listen from just before 2 hours into the episode. Have you tried the updated RSGB Discovery Scheme? Now called the Discovery Logbook, it's simpler to use with an easy-to-follow program and exciting links with groups such as Parks on the Air and Worked All Britain. There are also some great RSGB awards for you to aim for. As a relatively new radio amateur, Jim, Mike Echo 7 Hotel Echo Foxtrot, had found that the sheer breadth of the hobby made it a little difficult to know where to start. The Discovery Scheme gave him a simple structure to try various aspects of amateur radio, and he's really enjoyed it. You can read more about Jim's experience on the RSGB website at rsgb.org/your-stories, and there you can follow the links to find out how you could try something new using the Discovery Logbook. The RSGB is looking for someone to take on the complex role of editor of the annual RSGB yearbook, and that's following the retirement of the previous editor. This is a paid post, working part-time from home for a few months each year, and it's offered as a fixed-term contract. You'll need experience of editing material from a wide range of sources and working to deadlines, as well as attention to detail. You'll need experience with programs such as InDesign, along with knowledge of the breadth of amateur radio in the UK today. And if you're interested in this post, please email authors at rsgb.org.uk with an appropriate CV or covering statement of your abilities. And just to confirm, the email address is authors, which is spelled Alpha Uniform Tango Hotel Oscar Romeo Sierra. That's authors at rsgb.org.uk. Now, last weekend was 1940s weekend at the Bletchley Park Museum. The RSGB National Radio Centre supported the event by hosting the World War II Special Operations Executive radio station Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Oscar Echo. The station, operating on the 40-metre band, attracted lots of visitor attention, as did GB2RS, which was busy on the air as part of the Museums on the Air weekend. National Radio Centre volunteers made contacts and invited visitors to pass greetings messages. The volunteers used the new licence conditions to allow some visitors to run contacts themselves under supervision. The weekend was a huge success, and 1,211 people visited the RSGB National Radio Centre. The Society would like to thank all the National Radio Centre volunteers who delivered such an enjoyable weekend. Alexanderson Day will take place on Sunday the 30th of June 2024. This unique Alexanderson alternator with call sign SAQ, that's Sierra Alpha Quebec, is scheduled for 2 transmissions on 17.2 kHz using Morse code. At 0830 UTC, the alternator will start up, and at 0900 UTC, the first transmission will begin. A second transmission is scheduled for 1200 UTC, and you can read more about the event and the historical transmitter at alexander.n for November.Sierra Echo. So that's alexander.n.se. The Bath-based distance learning team is enrolling students into its pre-course classroom for its forthcoming full licence exam course. The team has received a number of inquiries about whether its course is suitable for the direct to full exam. Well, the course content focuses on the full level syllabus items, which are really only a part of the direct to full syllabus. Learners should know the foundation and intermediate material already. Parallel study is possible, but the Bath-based distance learning full licence course alone would not be sufficient to ensure a pass in a direct to full exam. You can find more detail in the latest edition of Radcom, but please note that the email address provided to Radcom was incorrect, so you should now email Steve, Golf 0 Foxtrot Uniform Whiskey, using his email address Golf 0 Foxtrot Uniform Whiskey at Bravo Bravo Delta Lima.org.uk. That's G0FUW at bbdl.org.uk. The Gisborough and District Amateur Radio Club is organising a mini-D expedition to Scotland on the Isle of Lewis, and that's from the 22nd to the 29th of September. The team has a couple of spaces left, and it welcomes amateurs from other clubs who'd like to join in. For more information, you can email rmdutton, that's Romeo Mike, Delta Uniform Tango Tango Oscar November at virginmedia.com. And finally, we have a reminder to listen out for all the amateur stations that will be on the air during the Museums on the Air activity today, the 23rd. For more information about the event, visit tinyurl.com/IMW2024. That's India Mike Whiskey 2024. And now we have details of rallies and events. The Newbury Radio Rally takes place today, and the venue is Newbury Showground, which is next to junction 13 of the M4 motorway in Berkshire. And the postcode for your sat-nav is Romeo Golf 189 Quebec Zulu. The event includes a display area with an amateur radio station. There are also exhibits, special interest groups, clubs and societies. The doors open to sellers at 8 a.m. and to visitors at 9 a.m. There's plenty of free car parking, and entry is £3 for visitors. A seller's pitch will cost you £15, and for more information you can visit the event website, which is November Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra .org.uk. Dunstable Downs Radio Club invite you to its annual boot sale and radio rally on Sunday the 30th of June, and that's being held at Stockwood Park in Luton. As always, there'll be plenty of plots available on the day for £10 each. Car parking is £4 per vehicle for visitors, and updates will appear on the Dunstable Downs Radio Club's Facebook page. You can also add yourself to the email list. To do that, visit ddrbootsale.org. That's Delta Delta Romeo Charlie bootsale.org, all one word, and they'll put you on the mailing list and you'll get automated email reminders. Burton-on-Trent Amateur Radio Club Mini Rally and Barbecue takes place on Saturday the 6th of July, and that's at the Barley Mow Public House in Burton-on-Trent, and the postcode is Delta Echo 5 9 Alpha Papa. There's ample car parking and admission is free. Apart from all the usual stalls, there'll be a live demonstration of the club's remote access station. If you need more information, you can phone Barry. His number is 01283 540 570, or you can see the club's Facebook page. And now we have the special event news. Marking the 25th anniversary since Poland joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, special call sign HF25 NATO, that's Hotel Foxtrot 25 November Alpha Tango Oscar, will be active until the 31st of August. You can QSL via Club Log's OQRS. And please note that only 100 limited edition QSL cards will be issued, and that's on a first come first served basis, so do call in quick. You can also find details of a certificate that is available, and the certificate information is available on tinyurl.com/Hotel Foxtrot 25 November Alpha Tango Oscar. A special call sign Sierra Kilo 100 FRK, that's Foxtrot Romeo Kilo, is active from Sweden, and that's to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Falu Radio Club's formation in 1924. The station is active until the end of the year on all bands, and operators are using SSB, Morse code and FM. For details of an award that's available, go to qrz.com and look up the special call sign, which is Sierra Kilo 100 Foxtrot Romeo Kilo. And now we have the DX news. Domenico, IK1MNF, is active as IK1MNF/India Alpha 5, and he'll be operating from Isola d'Elba, that's on IOTA reference Echo Uniform 028, and he'll be active until the end of September. He'll be operating using SSB on the 20 to 6 meter bands, and QSOs will be uploaded to Club Log, and you can QSL via Domenico's home call, which is India Kilo 1 Mike November Foxtrot. Chaz NK8 Oscar is active as 5 Hotel 3 Delta X-Ray from near Dodoma in Tanzania, and he'll be active until the 30th of June. He's operating using Morse code FT8 and FT4 on the 30 to 10 meter bands, and you can QSL directly to November Kilo 8 Oscar or via EQSL. And now we have the contest news. Today, the 23rd, it's the 50 megahertz Morse code contest, which runs from 0900 to 1200 UTC. Using Morse code on the 6 meter band, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. On Tuesday the 25th, it's the SHF UK Activity Contest, and that will run from 18:30 to 21:30 UTC. It uses all modes on the 2.3 to 10 GHz bands, and the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. On Thursday the 27th, it's the 80 metre Club Championship SSB contest, and that runs from 1900 to 2030 UTC. Using SSB on the 80 metre band, the exchange is signal report and serial number. Then on Sunday the 30th, it's the UK Microwave Group 5.7 and 10 GHz contest, and that runs from 0600 to 1800 UTC. Using all modes on the 5.7 and 10 GHz bands, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. And now we have the radio propagation report, and this was compiled by G0KYA, G3YLA and G4BAO on Thursday the 20th of June. We had a relatively quiet week, with the sun generally being settled. There were coronal mass ejections, but they were on the far side of the sun and not directed towards Earth. There were no X-class flares, although we did have a few C and M-class events. The solar flux index dropped to 167, but that has since risen to 196. That was on Thursday the 20th. Active regions 3712, 3713 and 3716 are all large, and 3712 has been emitting flares. However, all three regions will soon rotate out of view, so shouldn't be a threat in the coming week. HF conditions have been reasonable for the time of year. Maximum usable frequencies over a 3,000 km path during daylight have generally been between 14 and 21 MHz, although there have been occasional openings up to 24 MHz. Sporadic E is the main propagation mode on the 10 metre band. Next week, NOAA predicts that the solar flux index will range from 175 to 190, and geomagnetic conditions should be mainly settled. However, the far side coronal mass ejections we have been seeing suggest that we could be in for a rough ride in about a week to 10 days' time. So this week could be a good time for HF propagation. And now we move across to the VHF and up propagation news, and this was prepared by G3YLA and G4BAO. The weather is changing to a more summer-like pattern, and that means that the main jet stream will be further north than recently, and this will make sporadic E harder to find than during the recent strong jet stream pattern over Europe. For most UK stations, the emphasis for sporadic E paths will shift from the typical Central Europe and Mediterranean to possibly an area around Scandinavia and the Baltic states. The new feature this week will be high pressure, and that comes and goes during the period, but it should bring some useful tropo. In these high summer days, sea or coastal paths are often good, but paths across hot land do not fare well in summer during the daytime. So concentrate on the night or early morning, especially if it's foggy. There will be times when small lows and fronts edge into the south and west of the British Isles, and in typical summer fashion they may bring a risk of thundery showers. Any local heavy rain means good conditions for rain scatter on the gigahertz bands. Meteor scatter again remains in the random category, and that usually peaks around dawn. Lastly, we have a note about aurora, which has been kept at arm's length, although there have been several periods with slightly enhanced KP index. The light summer nights mean that visible auroras are unlikely, but do look out for noctilucent clouds on the northern horizon around midnight. And noctilucent clouds are thin, wispy clouds that glow with a blue or silvery hue at night when illuminated by sunlight from below the horizon. The moon is currently at minimum declination this coming week, so peak elevation is low and windows of availability are short. EME path losses will fall as we approach perigee next Thursday the 27th. 144 MHz sky noise is high this weekend, but it falls to low early next week. And that's all from the propagation team this week. We'll now move across to local news, and please note that details of all RSGB affiliated clubs and societies are on the RSGB website, and that includes email addresses and website links where we know them. We start off as usual with news for the Midlands, and meetings of the Bolsover Amateur Radio Society take place every other Tuesday, starting at 8 p.m. at the Bainbridge Hall in Bolsover, and the postcode is Sierra 446 Papa X-ray. The next meeting will take place on Tuesday the 2nd of July, and you can find more information and reminders for meetings on the Society's Facebook page, which is at Bolsover ARS. That's all one word, at Bolsover ARS. You can also contact Vin, G4KSY. His phone number is 01246 827 135, and he'll be happy to give you any more information that you might need. The Bromsgrove and District Amateur Radio Club meet every Friday from 8 p.m, and members also have a regular coffee morning on Wednesdays in the club shack, and those coffee mornings start at 10:30 a.m. Then on Monday and Wednesday evenings they have nets on 145.375 MHz starting at 7:30 p.m. The Burton Amateur Radio Club has open nets around 145.575 MHz at 10 a.m. on Sundays and 8 p.m. on Thursdays. On Monday they have slow Morse code exercises on 14.055 MHz. They start at 11 a.m. and the club meets every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Then on Thursday they have a net on 145.575 MHz from 8 p.m. Central Radio Amateur Circle has a net on 145.575 from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and from 12 p.m. on Saturday, and the group will be having a Google meeting at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Cheltenham Radio Amateur Circle has a net on 145.575 MHz from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and from 12 p.m. on Saturday, and the group will be having a Google meeting at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Cheltenham Amateur Radio Association has daily nets on 145.400 MHz at 8:10 a.m, and on Monday there'll be a DMR net on talk group 235292. Tuesday sees slow Morse code on 3540 kHz and up from 8 p.m. And for more information you can visit the club's website, which is golf5bravo.kilo.uniform kilo. On Friday, Coventry Amateur Radio Society will meet from 8 p.m, and that's to listen to a talk on wildlife photography. Dudley and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. They meet at the Wrighton Mill, which is on 59 Vale Street in Upper Gornal, Dudley, and the postcode is Delta Yankee 3 X-Ray Foxtrot. Gloucester Amateur Radio and Electronic Society has an informal net every day on 145.475 MHz FM at 3:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday there's a net from 7:30 p.m. on 145.475, and Thursday sees another net from 7:30 on 145.475, which then moves to 80 meters SSB later on. On Friday, the net is on 432.220 MHz SSB, starting at 7:30 p.m. Then on Saturday, it's the Society's Open Day, and that's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Wednesday, Hinckley Amateur Radio and Electronic Society will meet at Burbage Infant School. Kettering and District Amateur Radio Society has a breakfast meeting from 10 a.m. on Sundays, and on Tuesday there's a club meeting from 7 p.m. And on Thursday they have a net on 145.300 MHz from 7 p.m. On Monday, Leicester Radio Society will meet at its HQ and through Zoom from 7:30 p.m. And on Thursday they'll have a club meeting from 10 a.m. Lincoln Shortwave Club will meet at the BSA Village Hall from 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday and from 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. Then on Thursday they have a net via Golf Bravo 3 Lima Sierra, or if that's busy they'll meet on 145.350 MHz, and for more information you can visit the club's website, which is golf5foxtrotzulu.co.uk. On Tuesday, Loughborough and District Amateur Radio Club will be enjoying some portable operating from Wymeswold, and that's subject to the weather. On Tuesday, Malvern Hills Radio Amateurs Club is having an informal meeting, and on Wednesday the club's net is on 145.350 MHz FM starting at 8 p.m. On Wednesday, Midland Amateur Radio Society will run training classes as well as holding an open meeting to explore fundraising ideas. On Monday, Nunsfield House Amateur Radio Group will have a shack night and club net on 145.300 MHz, and that starts at 8 p.m. Then on Friday, members will be holding a surplus sale. On Monday, RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club has a net on 145.325 MHz from 7:30 p.m. Then on Wednesday they have Morse practice at 8 p.m. on 144.085 MHz, and the club will meet at the Pie Wipe from 8 p.m. on Friday. Rugby Amateur Transmitting Society has weekday nets at 8:30 a.m. on 144.275 MHz USB. They also have training and practice Morse code nets, which take place on Monday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on 144.275 MHz. They initially start off using USB voice and then move across to Morse code. And the Society will meet from 8 p.m. on Tuesday and from 2 p.m. on Saturday at the Borton Lee 12th Rugby Scouts Hut. Then on Friday they have another net from 8 p.m, this time on 1913 kHz. Members of the Salop Amateur Radio Society will meet for a club and shack night on Thursday, and for more information you can visit the club's website, which is salopradiosociety, all one word, .org. On Thursdays, Solihull Amateur Radio Society have a net around 145.450 MHz from 8 p.m. South Birmingham Radio Society has open club nets, or open club night should I say, on Fridays from 7:30 p.m, and visitors are welcome to attend the Society's Tuesday coffee mornings, which start at 10:30 a.m. On Tuesday, South Derbyshire and Ashby Wolds Amateur Radio Group have an open net on 144.225 MHz SSB. That's from 7 p.m. and members will have a club evening from 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Then on Friday they have a net on 70.425 MHz from 7 p.m. On Sundays, Stafford and Districts Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.375 MHz from 8 p.m, and on Wednesdays members meet at the Wildwood Community Centre from 8 p.m. Stourbridge and District Amateur Radio Society meets at the Norton Snooker Club from 8 p.m. on Mondays. Also on Monday, Stratford upon Avon and District Radio Society have an informal net via Zoom, and for more information visit the club's website, which is Stratford Radio Society, all one word, .org.uk. On Monday, Sutton Coldfield Amateur Radio Society will meet at the Pavilion on 9 Openfield Croft in Water Orton, and the meeting starts at 8 p.m. On Wednesday, members of Telford and District Amateur Radio Society will meet to discuss practical operations. Wolverhampton Amateur Radio Society meet every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. at the Wednesfield and Woodend British Legion. Then on Sundays they have a net around 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m, and for more information you can visit the club's website, which is wolverhamptonars, all one word, .co.uk, or at wolvesars on social media. On Sundays, Withell Radio Club has a net on 145.225 MHz from 7 p.m, and on Tuesday members will meet for a club night from 7:30 p.m. And now we move across to news for the South East and East Anglia. On Wednesday, Bishop Stortford Amateur Radio Society has its net from 8 p.m. on 145.5625 MHz, and everyone's welcome to join in. Bracknell Amateur Radio Club have their net via Golf Bravo 3 Bravo November from 5 p.m. on Sundays, and on Wednesday they have a net on 145.375 MHz FM starting at 8 p.m. On Tuesday from 8 p.m, Braintree and District Amateur Radio Society will meet at the Stisted, will be meeting at Stisted for its annual antenna clinic. On Wednesday, Bromley and District Amateur Radio Society have a net starting on 145.500 MHz from 9 p.m, and for more information you can visit the club's website, which is BDARS, that's Bravo Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra .wordpress.com. Burnham Beeches Radio Club has its net from 10:30 a.m. on Sundays, starting on 145.500 MHz, before changing frequency to 145.275 MHz. Bury St Edmunds Amateur Radio Society meets at the Ruffham Tower Museum on the third Wednesday of each month, and it's a small but very active club, and there are club nets every day of the week except Sunday. You can find details on the club's website, which is Bravo Sierra Echo Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk, and the club's general chat frequencies are 144.7375 MHz FM and 433.400 MHz FM. On Sundays, Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society has a Morse code net on 144.060 MHz from 8 p.m. Then on Monday they have Morse classes from 7:30 p.m. around 3542 kHz, and that's then followed at 8:15 p.m. by Golf Bravo 2 Charlie Whiskey Slow Morse on 3555 kHz. Then on Tuesday they have an open net via Golf Bravo 3 Echo Romeo, that's from 8 p.m, and on Thursday there'll be more Morse code classes via Skype starting at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, Chelsea Pensioners Radio Club have their net on 145.375 MHz from 2 p.m. On Tuesday, Colchester Radio Amateurs Club has a net on 433.400 MHz from 7 p.m. and on 1.920 MHz lower sideband from 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday they have an open net which is around 145.350 MHz starting at 7 p.m. The Thursday net is also at 7 p.m. and it's on 3.685 MHz. Then on Friday there's an open DX net which is on 14.125 MHz with assistance on 145.350 MHz, and that starts at 2:30 p.m. On Sundays, Coulsdon Amateur Transmitting Society has its net on 145.4 MHz from 11 a.m. and on 3.700 MHz from 5 p.m. Then on Wednesday there's a net around 70.425 MHz from 9 p.m. Crawley Amateur Radio Club will meet from 11 a.m. on Sunday, 8 p.m. on Wednesday and 2 p.m. on Friday. And during the meeting on Wednesday, Richard, Golf 3 Zulu India Yankee, will be talking about brickworks. The club meets at Hut 18 on Tilgate Drive in Crawley, and the postcode is Romeo Hotel 105 Hotel Whiskey. And you can get more information from Stuart, Golf 3 Yankee Sierra X-Ray. His phone number is 0772 006 8493. Cray Valley Radio Society's 2 meters and 4 meters FM nets are held on 145.350 MHz on Sundays at 10 a.m. and on 70.425 MHz on Fridays at 8 p.m. They have a top band SSB net which then moves to AM. That's held on the first Monday of each month around 1.905 MHz at 8 p.m. On Wednesdays, Crystal Palace Radio and Electronics Club has a net on 145.525 MHz from 8 p.m. and on Saturdays the club has a net on 51.550 MHz FM from 8 p.m. On Sundays, Darenth Valley Radio Society has a net on 145.475 MHz at 8 a.m. Dorking and District Radio Society have a net each day from Monday to Saturday on 144.775 MHz FM starting at 10 a.m. On Thursday, members of the Edgware and District Amateur Radio Society will meet at Eastcote, and that's for a session of portable operation. Essex Ham have their net on Monday via Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha starting at 8 p.m, and they also have chat room and audio feed at essexham.net. On Tuesday, Fareham and District Amateur Radio Club have their net on 145.475 MHz FM from 7 p.m, and the club will meet on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, they have a net on 1.967 MHz from 7 p.m, and you can get more information on the club's activities at their website, which is fareham-delta-alpha-romeo-charlie.co.uk. On Sundays, Felixstowe and District Amateur Radio Society have a net on 145.4 MHz from 10 a.m, and on Wednesday the net is through Golf Bravo 3 India Hotel, and that's from 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, Fort Purbrook Amateur Radio Club has an open net via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Whiskey starting at 7:30 p.m, and on Friday members are meeting in room FP1, that's from 7 p.m. Today, the 23rd of June, the Harlow and District Amateur Radio Society is active with the call sign Golf Bravo 0 Hotel Mike Golf. That's during the Museums on the Air event. On Tuesday, members will have a technical evening, and on Wednesday there'll be a net on 145.425 MHz from 7:30 p.m. Then on Friday, the Society will meet from 8 p.m, and visitors are most welcome to attend. Hastings Electronics and Radio Club holds a daily net on the Golf Bravo 3 Echo Sierra repeater at 10 a.m. They also have a Morse code net on Monday nights at 8 p.m. on 144.575 MHz. The Morse code net is aimed at anyone new to Morse code or who wishes to brush up on their Morse skills, and non-members are welcome to take part as well. The net is then followed by general conversation. Then on Wednesdays, usually at 1 p.m, members meet up at various locations in the area for an afternoon of portable radio on the air on both HF and VHF using SSB, Morse code and FM. And once again, non-members are welcome to take part. The details do vary each week, so it's a good idea to visit the club's website on Wednesday mornings. The club's website address is hastings-electronics-radio-club.com, and on Wednesday morning you'll be able to see the location and time of the next meeting. The Hogs Back Amateur Radio Club usually meets on the second and fourth Mondays of the month at the Crondall Scout Centre on Pankridge Street in Crondall. And tomorrow, the 24th, Bob Mike Zero Romeo Hotel Echo will be giving a talk entitled A Thermionic Path Valve Amplifier. On Sundays, Horndean and District Amateur Radio Club has a Morse code net at 9 a.m. around 1950 kHz, then moving to SSB at around 9:30 a.m. There's also an 8 p.m. net on 433.450 MHz, and on Monday there'll be a net around 1950 kHz from 7 p.m. Then on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. the net moves to 145.375 MHz. And on Friday, members will hold a club meeting. On the 30th of June, the Golf Bravo 3 Oscar Victor repeater, which is located in the Ouse Valley, will have a system upgrade, and that will mean that the usual receive and transmit frequencies will change to match most of the UK repeaters setup. Details of the changeover frequencies, CT, CSS and split, are published on the Huntingdonshire Amateur Radio Society's website, and that's under the Golf Bravo 3 Oscar Victor repeater tab. And you can find the website by searching for Hunt's Hams. That's Hotel Uniform November Tango Sierra, Hotel Alpha Mike Sierra. And the GB3OV repeater has been running since the 24th of November 1985. That's using a Tate 300 series base module on the same site, and it will now be upgraded with modern equipment which will see users benefit from better coverage and operability. And due to its location, the repeater is one of the most used in East Anglia. On Sundays, the Isle of Wight Radio Society has a net via Golf Bravo 7 Papa Oscar and Golf Bravo 7 Mike Tango from 8 p.m. The Society also has a net from Monday to Friday via Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey. That net starts at 6:15 a.m. Then on Tuesday, the Society takes part in the Bramble net via GB3IW, and that starts at 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, there's another net via GB3IW, followed by a Zoom meeting from 8 p.m. Then on Fridays, members meet at the Haylands Farm in Ryde, and foundation and intermediate license training is available at those meetings. Itchen Valley Amateur Radio Club is holding a meeting on Friday from 8 p.m, and for more information about the club you can visit their website, which is India Victor Alpha Romeo Charlie .org.uk. Loughton and Epping Forest Amateur Radio Society have their net on Wednesday from 8 p.m. on Brandmeister DMR Talk Group 23511. Then on Thursday they have a net from 8 p.m. on 144.725 MHz FM. And on Friday, members will meet at All Saints House from 8 p.m. for a VHF operating session. Lowestoft District and Pye Amateur Radio Club has a net on Sundays on 433.575 MHz from 8 p.m. and on Tuesday the net is on 145.475 MHz from 8 p.m. The club will meet on Thursday evenings from 7:30 p.m. and the final net of the week is on Friday, also at 8 p.m. on 51.490 MHz. The Martello Tower Group has a net every Monday evening at 8 p.m. via the Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Lima repeater. And on Sundays the group has a net via Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Echo from 8 p.m. Medway Amateur Receiving and Transmitting Society nets take place each weekday from 9:30 a.m. on 144.650 MHz. On Friday, Mid Sussex Amateur Radio Society is having an on-air evening at the Millfield Suite, Cypress Hall. That's on Cypress Road in Burgess Hill, and the postcode is Romeo Hotel 158 Delta X-Ray, and that all starts at 7:30 p.m. Tomorrow the 24th, it's the Milton Keynes Amateur Radio Society's Bring Your Project Night. On Wednesday they have a net on 28.39 MHz from 8 p.m. and members will meet for coffee and a chat via Zoom on Friday from 10:30 a.m. On Wednesday, the Newbury and District Amateur Radio Society will meet to hear a talk by Greg, Golf 4 Charlie Sierra Tango, and the talk is on the subject of understanding your antenna. Norfolk Amateur Radio Club has a net via Golf Bravo 3 November Bravo every Monday from 7:30 p.m. and that's then followed by a Morse code net on 3.543 MHz at 8:30 p.m. Shefford and District Amateur Radio Society meet on the air every Monday and Wednesday. The Monday net is at 7 p.m. on 1985 kHz, and that's followed on Wednesday by a net at 8 p.m. through Golf Bravo 3 Papa India, and everyone's welcome to join in both those nets. And to see the club's programme of events, you can go to their website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.co.uk. On Wednesday, Southdown Amateur Radio Society will have a cafe meeting at 12:15 p.m. and this will then be followed by a net on the Golf Bravo 3 Zulu X-ray repeater at 2 p.m. Stevenage and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. at the Stevenage Resource Centre. That's on Chells Way in Stevenage, and the postcode is Sierra Golf 2 0 Lima Tango. They have free tea, coffee and biscuits for everyone attending, and a club net is usually organised each Tuesday evening from 8 p.m. on 145.450 MHz. They have another net on Thursday evenings on the 80 metre band, close to 3.727 MHz, and that's using the club call sign Golf 3 Sierra Alpha Delta. You can find more information on the club's website, which is Sierra Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo Sierra.com. On Sundays, Surrey Radio Contact Club has a net on 1.905 MHz at 9:30 a.m. and on Monday they have a net on 3.710 MHz lower sideband from 9 a.m. On Tuesday they meet on 51.550 MHz from 8 p.m. and Wednesday's net is on 28.078 MHz JS8 from 10 a.m. Then on Thursday the net is on 70.300 MHz from 8 p.m. On Friday there's a D-Star net, that's on 144.6125 MHz starting at 7:30 p.m. with an FM net on 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. On Friday, Thames Amateur Radio Group will have a net via Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha, or if that's busy, they'll meet on 145.300 MHz. For more information on the club, you can visit their website, which is thamesarg, that's all one word, thamesarg.org.uk. On Sundays, West Kent Amateur Radio Society has a net on 28.730 MHz from 11 a.m. and on Mondays they have a net on 145.375 MHz from 8 p.m. Then the Wednesday net starts on 51.510 MHz FM before changing frequency. And that ends this week's GB2RS news broadcast, which was brought to you by Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. The news was compiled by the Radio Society of Great Britain, who represent amateur radio and radio amateurs within the United Kingdom and internationally. If you have a news item to share, please email it to us at far in advance as possible, and we'll include it in the GB2RS news broadcast, Radcom magazine and the RSGB website free of charge. Send it to the editorial team, whose email address is radcom@rsgb.org.uk. The RSGB will retain the copyright over the material transmitted, and you can find information about amateur radio on our website, which is rsgb.org. And you can also download the full schedule of GB2RS broadcasts from rsgb.org/GB2RS schedule. GB2RS isn't licensed for two-way traffic, but I'll be pleased to take your calls and any reports or queries using my call sign Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta. So we wish you 73 from the GB2RS news team, hoping you have a lovely Sunday and a great week ahead. This is Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta, now listening for any calls.